or my grandson or my granddaughter, whatever, is renting that house from me.
Correct.
All right? Now, what is the difference between an owner policy and a non-owner policy?
That's another good question. I run in that a lot, the same kind of thing. Well, my family is living in the house. Well, if they're not an owner, they're not an owner. Mm-hmm. It's just that simple. So you cannot put a homeowner's policy on that home. You have to put I have a renter. You have to put like a landlord policy on that house. And it changes the coverages. So it's really important to really know who's in the house so you can determine the right policy because the coverages are different.
Okay. And then the word we used earlier, we can't use, unfortunately, on the radio. Okay, so you're a non-owner.
Right.
You move in with all your stuff.
Right.
All right?
Our personal belongings.
Right. All your stuff. Big stuff, little stuff, box stuff, whatever it is. Now, does it depend? It's just going to sound stupid, but, you really want to know.
I love stupid questions.
Oh, good. That's why you and I get along so well. With all the stuff that you have, and you are non-owner, and you have the paintings.
Right.
Very rare paintings. Okay, so you want more insurance on that. Or you have great-grandmama's furniture that came over here from Sicily.
Yes.
That you're holding together with spit and glue. Right? All of this. Now, does all of that impact the difference on the insurance that one should get?
Yes. And two things people need to know, and again, Daniel faced this a lot when he was in the restoration industry, that he would go out and do a loss at a house where there was a renter, and the first question was like, all of my stuff is wet. When's the landlord going to pay for it? Never. Because the landlord's not responsible for that. It's not under his policy. The tenant is supposed to have a renter's policy. Mm-hmm. And in the renter's policy, you have your contents coverage. Now, again, just like in a homeowner's, if you do have the Van Goghs or the antiques, those have to be added special. Those aren't just normally covered like our normal clothing and couches and et cetera. Those might require appraisals, proof of invoicing, et cetera. So, again, you really need to know what you have to have because a lot of people move in assuming landlord's going to just take care of them. It doesn't happen that way.
Okay, and then the other thing, too. Now, I think I know the answer to this one.
Oh, yay. I'll ask you then.
Yeah, okay. Ask me the question, darling. What am I going to ask?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that. All right. Now, since we did the non-owner and owner, okay, you have a house, condo, trailer, tent, an RV, whatever you got, right?
Okay.
And you own it.
Okay.
Okay? And it's non-livable. Nobody's living in there.
Right.
All right? Either you're going to sell it or you're going to rent it, or you just don't know what you're going to do yet. Right. Okay. Now, if somebody like a squatter happens to get into there, the owner that has the insurance on that piece of property or trailer, whatever it is, what is the responsibility to that owner if that squatter or the break-in person, whatever you want to call them, they have their parties with their pop and their paint and all this other stuff. What happens?
I love that question because we're facing that a lot right now. A lot of people are walking away from their homes or they're putting it on the market and some of them take a little bit longer. The problem is that the rule is no home can be vacant for more than 60 days. If it's vacant more than 60 days, it must have a vacant home policy. You cannot just say, it'll be fine. It isn't fine. You must have the right policy on it. Traditionally speaking, your vacant policies are fire only.
Now, why only fire?
Because, again, the carrier knows it's sitting there vacant, which means it's a super high risk. So, again, you're going to turn the water off because it's fire only. You can buy an endorsement for vandalism, but you have to pay extra for that. So, because the risk is so high because of squatters or vandalism or et cetera, which again explains why the carriers say more than 60 days, boom, no, we need to change the policy because the risk is different.
Okay, what happens?
It's there to watch the house.
That's correct.
It would be cheaper to have somebody sitting there babysitting.
I tell my people that put the grandson in, put the niece in, put the nephew in, put somebody in there while it's up for sale. You're exactly right. They need eyes watching the house. Okay,
there's one more question I want to ask you before we get to Bob. We're still waiting for our special guest to call in. Now, what happens, a lot of people, even Bob and I were talking about this the other day, when you have a piece of property, even if it's that tent that you have, get the cameras, the security cameras, and they're hooked up onto these little computers, so you could be home in your jams watching this computer and babysitting your house, right?
Okay.
Now, with that in mind, which a lot of people are doing, even restaurant owners to watch the people working and stuff, what is the best way for one to sleep good at night and knowing that they are covered? With just the cameras going and everything, running on the tape? Or would it be the insurance, or would it be both?
Well, the thing is if you're talking about I'm going to have a vacant home and I'm going to put the security on and I'm going to put the cameras on and now it's not really vacant because somebody's watching it, no, that doesn't work. Because you can't even have a casita, for example, where there's a caretaker who's on the property, who's watching. No, can't insure the house as a regular house because it's still vacant. So the rules are very special. So that doesn't work if you're talking about insuring a vacant home because I'm going to put cameras up. But if you're talking about a normal person living in a house, what level of comfort are they going to have for their security? I think that's different. I love a 2-story house because I want to be able to open my windows at night and go to sleep and know they can't scale the wall, right? So that's my level of comfort. Everybody's is different. And depending on what level of security, you could have better discounts as well.
Okay, so then the persons that own this property, right, the house, condo, trailer, whatever it is, right, they should have enough brains, hopefully, to call their insurance people.
Correct.
And say, hey, look, I got this 2x2x4 house. Nobody's in there, but I want to get it insured.
No, and I do that. I listen to what my customers say to me because they'll tell you something and I go, okay, now what did you just say? I think I just heard we need to fix that because that's not going to work. Because if you, God forbid, call me and there's a claim and I got to tell you it's not covered because you didn't tell me, I don't want to be there. I'd rather fix it, make it right. We deal with if there's any premium increase. But you're buying coverage to have it there. So that's how I feel about it.
And then after they go through this and it is rented out,
then we can change the policy.
Then you change the policy back.
I can change it as many times as we need to.
So there is no length of time that you need this kind of insurance?
No.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Is that more expensive, the vacant house insurance, than the standard if you're living there?
Yes, it absolutely is. Your homeowners is usually traditionally a little bit more than your dwelling for your renter because in your dwelling for your renter, again, you're not putting your personal property, you're not needing as much loss of use, so there's a lot of coverages that aren't as high, so that can be cheaper, but now nobody's there watching, vacant property higher. So, again, you really need to communicate because a lot of people will fib about it being a rental property thinking they'll pay more when traditionally it's less because, you've got different coverages. So communicate with your agent. Let's get the right policy because, again, if it isn't going to pay a claim because you have the wrong policy, then it doesn't matter how much money you thought you saved.
Right. Okay, now hang on to that thought.
Yes.
Bob, hang on, okay? He's hanging on to the chair. Yay. And, Mia, I see a light flashing. Yes. Is that who I think it is?
Yes, it's Thomas Ponce of the law offices of Richard Ewaniszyk.
You said that very well.
Yay!
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Hey, hey, Thomas, how are you?
I've been better.
Oh, that's a good. Hey, it's Friday. Be happy.
I was going to say.
Yeah. And, you got on the right program because we just made your Fridays better.
Oh, absolutely. I'm feeling 100% better now.
Oh, thank you, darling. And Thomas, before we get started, would you tell us the beginning of your story? How did you get into the law thing and that you are a legal assistant?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. I know you hate being called ma'am. I'm sorry, Beth.
That's okay. No, see, Thomas went to parochial school like I did, and like Richard did, and we're from old school, and you say ma'am or sir.
I know, but ma'am means you're old, so it's young lady.
Well, if you don't say ma'am, it just means that the penguins take the ruler to you.
You got it. You got it. Yeah.
But I survived Catholic school button, Thomas. I'm here.
Yeah, you went to parochial too.
Yes.
Yeah, and Daniel, you went to parochial.
We have the button.
Okay. All right. So since we all decided on how parochial goes, you know. Okay.
Bev, the answer to your question is I have an older brother who is a local attorney here in Victorville, has been for the better part of the last 30 years. He originally invited me to come work for him, so I cut my teeth in his office. For the last 5 years, I've been working with Attorney Ewaniszyk here in his office in Victorville as well.
That's pretty cool.
Well, you know, it's a career. You know, again, this type of field, I got to tell you, there's no shortage of use.
I believe that. Yeah, we said at the same time. Especially now with all the stories that you hear of these people, and some of it beyond their control, and they're going, we need serious help here.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Thomas, the other thing I wanted to ask you, because we were just talking to Barbara and Daniel about the insurance end, and Bob just got here a few minutes ago. He got stuck in traffic, but he's here now. Now, when somebody owns a home, the condo, the trailer, the tent, whatever it is, and they have to have somebody removed from the home, would you explain to all of the listeners what is the difference between a 3-day notice, a 30-day notice, and a 60-day notice?
Well, it's a real good question. Generally speaking, the 30-day and the 60-day notice will deal with, you know, provisions within the lease, and I'll explain. Leases, you know, come in many shapes and form, and the 30-day and 60-day notice is the time period that the tenant is given when, in fact, there's an issue with either, you know, defaults in their payments to the landlord, or maybe they have just broken other provisions of the lease, like they have animals and they're not supposed to have animals, they're conducting a business in the property, and they're not, you know, allowed to perform, you know, such work at their house. So a landlord will give notice in keeping with what the lease allows and says, hey, listen, you either got to pay your money, or you've got to vacate, or you've got to discontinue your business, or you have to vacate, or you have to, you know, get rid of the animals, or you have to vacate. So a 3-day notice normally will come into play, generally speaking, with money. You know, you haven't given me my money, and I'm going to cut to the chase with you. I'm not going to give you 30 or 60 days notice. You pay me my money quickly, or I'm going to take other legal actions. Now, is that the same thing that I just heard a pop? Are you still there, Thomas? Yes, ma'am. I wouldn't go away. Yeah, I heard a pop here. I don't know what it was here. I got a little nervous.
Pop-Tart.
Pop-Tarts, okay. Yeah, go and get them out of the toaster. Now, Thomas, with this in mind, if somebody is under a lease, like a 1-year lease or 2-year lease, you know, whatever it is, and they start doing damage and not paying the rent and on and on and on, can you still go ahead and evict them? Or would that be breaching that contract, that lease that they had? Is there another avenue that one has to go down? Well, really, the non-payment is a breach of the contract. So there's your first, you know, sign that, you know, something has gone amiss. So in that respect, the landlord is just reacting to the tenant. So in that respect, if you don't pay me my money, then I'm going to react. So in that respect, the breach of contract is then addressed by either doing the 3-day, or if somebody wants to be, you know, simple about it, just say, listen, maybe you're not going to be able to stay, so I'm going to give you 30 days notice, gives you time to leave. Some landlords are like that. They'll allow for, you know, a little bit of leeway with their tenant. But if it's just a black and white situation, the 3-day is done, and if it's a money situation, then they're going to be expeditious about getting people out. Well, that's good to know. And then the other thing, and then Bob's going to pop in, and then Barbara's going to pop in. We're all going to be talking together about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask you, if that, I hope it doesn't sound ridiculous. Now, someone has, all right, Joe Baloney, and